limits on motorcycles no bigger than 175 cc, and they have to be 1957 or older, and they can't really be modified, so they have to look basically right, and your gear has to look like it was from back then. So you needed new leathers and all that stuff because, you know, we all have all this clown stuff written all over our leathers these days. So anyway, I said yes, that I wanted to do that, and I would bring some of my friends, and they offered to give us modern bikes to tour behind. And I was friends with Jim Dillard's father, and he had all these vintage bikes and had made me enthusiastic for them also. And I thought, well, he needs to go on this event. And so I just battered him until he agreed that he would go. And I told Ducati that we needed vintage bikes. And they, I'm sure, rolled their eyes because they knew no woman had ever done it, nor was it a very comfortable place for a woman to go. And no one was going to take me seriously at all. But, and that wasn't actually the biggest problem. The biggest problem was I'd really never ridden a vintage bike. And anybody that rides old motorcycles and kickstarts old motorcycles and knows they don't have any brakes and knows their seats are converted from bus benches, then they know that this was a very, very stupid thing that I was asking. So when I dragged a vintage bike that had a Kickstarter, we like looked high and low and found something that had a Kickstarter, and I really couldn't start it, but I figured that if I'd find a hill or something and I'd work it out. I could just ride it, it'd be fine. So when I got to Italy, Ducati did try to talk me out of it, but when I got to Italy, they had a bike for me, and they told me it was like over there, and I walked up, and there was all these old Italian men around this motorcycle. They had the headlight pulled off of it, and it looked like snakes spewing. I've never seen so many wires in my life, and they were all the same color, which was not a good sign. So anyway, it turns out that they had gotten some guy in Perugia to drag this thing out of the back of a shed, had old, really terrible tires. The tires were dry rotted, and you hit a bump and the choke would go on. So it was just it was a terrible bike. And if you gave it gas too fast, it died, which it took me a minute because I'm like the queen of the twist the throttle. So anyway, I ran this thing up and down the road a couple times, and there were the Ducati factory. Prostitution is legal in Italy. It is not legal to go to a prostitute, but it is legal to be a prostitute. I know that makes no sense. And the girls work out front of the Ducati factory. And these women were so excited to see a woman on a motorcycle that every time this thing stalled, they would help me start it. So I had all these women, I push starting the bike. Anyway, eventually I went to put gas in it, I got it running, I figured out how to start it, and they called me on my cell phone and told me that the race was starting. So I had to get back because they stagger your start. You have every 30 seconds a different start, and you have to arrive at your next destination within that 30-second window. So it's hard. And when I took the start, you go over this big, I don't know what it was, anyway, it was like you go through this umbrella thing, and they make a big fuss about it, and there's announcers there yelling. And I heard them say that I was the first woman in history to do this. And I never heard that. I had no idea. So as it turned out, if I'd been smart enough to know to say no, I would never have done the thing that really, really changed my life and made me meet the most interesting people that I've ever met in my life.
Woo!